This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
Umbrellas up. We've got rain ahead, a wet week upon us.
Talks are continuing and going well.
We assess this attack to be a Hezbollah-inspired act of terrorism.
Flight systems are ready. Ground systems are ready.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Stand by for a soaker. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. We begin with this weather note. Much of upstate New York, south and east of the Great Lakes, is under a flood watch from Tuesday morning through Wednesday night, with a possibility of several inches of rain over that period.
Umbrellas up. We've got rain ahead tonight and on Tuesday as well, and be ready to seek a safe shelter. There'll be a thunderstorm or two in the area, and even as the rain tapers Wednesday, it'll be coming on back later in the week with more showers due Thursday and Friday. A wet week upon us.
Indeed. Thank you very much. That is meteorologist Kevin Williams. His forecast for your area later in this newscast. Our other big story is, of course, the war. As a second month of Middle East fighting begins, the Trump administration is still talking optimistically about the prospects of peace through negotiation. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
It's no surprise that we are seeing the remaining elements of the regime become increasingly eager to end the destruction and come to the negotiating table while they still can. Despite all of the public posturing you hear from the regime and false reporting, talks are continuing and going well.
However, it wasn't peaceful in Tel Aviv this afternoon, once again under attack from Iranian missiles and drones. Fox's Jonathan Hunt a short time ago.
It's been a quiet 48 hours here in Tel Aviv, but suddenly the last 30 minutes we have had two alerts there. Here comes the interceptor left. That is the interceptors now going up.
Tel Aviv under attack once again. On Friday, an Iranian missile struck a U.S. base deep inside Saudi Arabia. It caused serious injuries to U.S. personnel and damaged two Air Force planes, one of which was an AWACS airborne command system plane. Those cost $500 million apiece. The FBI says the man who attacked a synagogue in Michigan was inspired by the terrorist group Hezbollah.
Based on the evidence gathered to date, we assess this attack to be a Hezbollah-inspired act of terrorism, purposely targeting the Jewish community and the largest Jewish temple in Michigan. In this case, the evidence shows the attacker was motivated and inspired by Hezbollah's militant ideology.
FBI agent Jennifer Runyon. That Temple Israel attack happened near Detroit on March 12th. The attacker, 41-year-old Michigan resident Ayman Ghazali, died in the attack, taking his own life after a shootout with a Temple security guard. Things moving a bit better today at most U.S. airports. The first day in weeks that some TSA agents saw paychecks show up in their bank accounts. That the result of an executive order on Friday telling DHS to get its TSA agents paid. For now, though, ICE agents who've been helping out will remain. White House Borders Czar Tom Homan telling CBS.
If less TS agents come back, that means we'll keep more ICE agents there. The president's been clear. He wants to secure those airports, especially in an increased threat posture. We need to secure those airports. ICE is there to help our brothers and sisters in TSA.
There was faint hope that the Senate might muster a quick vote today to pass a House measure to fund TSA, but senators did nothing during a brief pro forma session this morning before heading out of town on Easter break. Florida Republican Congresswoman Kat Kamek tells Fox News Congress should be the ones missing paychecks until they get a deal done.
Absolutely. It needs to start with the senators. They right now are collecting a paycheck while our hardworking men of Homeland Security from FEMA, Coast Guard, DHS, collectively, and of course TSA, they're not getting paid.
With the Senate adjourned, it's doubtful any meaningful solution will be found on Capitol Hill for at least a couple of weeks. Big crowds at so-called No Kings protests around the area and the nation this weekend, but apparently also a lot of big money backing many of those gatherings.
There are about 500 organizations behind the No Kings protests. They want to call it grassroots. It's 100% AstroTurf. There are well-intentioned people that you walked among who came out, but the command and control was from these 500 groups with a $3 billion budget.
Asra Nomani with Fox Digital. Tiger Woods reportedly against hiring a driver due to privacy concerns. That according to reports from People magazine. An insider told the outlet that Woods doesn't want anyone to watch over him or know what he's doing. The 50-year-old professional golfer, arrested in Florida on Friday, faces charges including DUI with property damage. Well, final prep is underway for the launch of Artemis II from NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Crew of 4 set to orbit the moon on an ambitious 10-day mission, splashing down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego upon their return.
Our flight systems are ready. The ground systems are ready. Our launch and operations teams are ready. And our flight operations team in Houston are also ready.
NASA spokeswoman Lori Glaze, NASA says conditions right now about 80% go for Wednesday's planned launch. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories and highlights from today's issues in education. Checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. A legal battle continues over the future of a large upstate New York landfill. We get an update on that from Family Life's Sarah Harnish.
Yeah, the Seneca Falls Town Board is no fan of the sprawling Seneca Meadows landfill. The board has been trying for a decade to force the shutdown of the landfill and was set to close it last year, but a state appellate court has invalidated the town's closure law. The ruling says the board failed to identify the landfill's environmental concerns or provide a reasoned elaboration for the closing order. Many residents also want to see Seneca Meadows closed and capped, complaining they haven't smelled fresh air in years. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you, Sarah. Christian activist and New York Family's executive director Jason McGuire is suing State Attorney General Letitia James. His suit alleges that the AG wrongly implied that McGuire had confessed to stealing political funds and then lining his own pockets with campaign cash.
So in late July, I went into court. We had agreed to plead to 2 misdemeanors eventually to try to make it stop. And we thought it was a good faith effort to fix a couple of filing errors and some paperwork. Well, when we walked into that courtroom, no sooner had I signed the paperwork than Letitia James' office put out a hit piece against me, essentially accusing me of a litany of things that were not true and never happened. As a result of that, though, the judge sentenced me to 53 days of intermittent incarceration.
He's seeking both compensatory and punitive damages for reputational harm. To Pennsylvania now, another large facility there hit with bird flu. This time, a business that produces commercial duck meat. 18,000 birds affected at the site in Lancaster County. It's the first batch of cases reported in Pennsylvania since March 17th, when 870,000 birds at a commercial egg layer were hit. Despite the latest cases, bird flu is down in the Keystone State from February, when 1 in every 2 cases in the U.S. came from Pennsylvania. Well, maybe you missed this one on Friday. Tioga County, Pennsylvania farmer Michael Cliver was among farmers invited to speak at the White House as President Trump highlighted new relief efforts for the ag industry.
Up in Potter and Tioga County, Pennsylvania, the gas companies are leasing mineral rights again actively, and that's putting money back into the farmers' pockets up there too. So for all that, I applaud you and thank you, Mr. President.
Cliver operates Double's Circle D Farms. That's a ranch in Westfield, Pennsylvania. You might have also noticed landmarks lit up with green, yellow, and red last night. 21 landmarks across the Empire State were lit in honor of National Vietnam War Veterans Day. The Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park held a ceremony in honor of those vets on Sunday. Courtney Speckman is the director of programs. She tells WGRZ.
An annual observance to remember them ensures that this day is marked, and it's important for them to know that we do recognize their sacrifice and their service.
The keynote speaker, Buffalo native Frank Cias Jr., a Marine Corps vet whose helicopter was shot down over Laos in 1967. He spent 2,100 days as a POW and says it was God who pulled him through.
I always kept God, country, and my family close to my heart.
New York designated March 29th as Vietnam Veterans Day, along with the federal recognition. Well, of course, this is spring, and that also means pothole season. Pothole experts working in teams on the weekends to repair roads around PA and New York.
This is one of our weekend pothole pushes where we put together as many crews as possible to try and cover 311 complaints as well as mains and secondaries and covering those potholes.
Buffalo's Department of Public Works gave an update to WGRZ.
We're really focusing on quality over quantity. We want more permanent repairs that stick longer so that that asphalt doesn't get blasted out in 2 or 3 days. A good cold patch application should last until until next winter, right?
A single town can have 400 to 500 potholes that need to be repaired. Larger towns, far more. All right, up next, highlights from this week's Issues in Education. Dr. Ralph Kerr with the Teaching and Learning Institute weighing in on the important issues impacting our schools, beginning with the State School Boards Association take on upcoming school budget votes.
They're predicting that districts may have to ask taxpayers to shoulder more of the burden of public education this spring when those school budget votes happen on May 19th. Do you anticipate, Ralph, given the state of the economy with everything costing more, from energy to utilities to school buses and other things, do you think that more districts are going to have to go outside the tax cap when it comes to their local spending plans?
Well, there may be some, but I don't really think there's going to be a whole lot of districts that will go there. Most districts have their contracts settled, and so there are going to be some salary increases. The medical premiums are continuing to go up. Everybody's dealing with that, I think.
Yeah.
Those are just sort of automatic increases. I think, though, what will happen is that districts over the years have increased their reserves, and so they will dig into those a little bit more. And that'll be interesting, really, to see how many districts actually go over the 2%, which is allowed by law.
Yeah. Would you say that since the tax cap law became law, that more districts have had their spending plans approved because of that law?
I think so. I mean, anytime you can say you can't ask us for more than this amount of money as a taxpayer, I would think most taxpayers would say amen to that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it has been helpful in controlling spending. I just wish that the legislature would put a cap on their own spending, instead of beating it all on the schools.
I saw the budget this year, something like $270 billion. It's absolutely astronomical how much money they spend. Unreal. Well, hey, speaking of spending money, education activists rallied at the Pennsylvania state capitol last week, Ralph. They're calling for $50 million more to improve childhood literacy. Only a third of students in Pennsylvania are proficient at reading by third grade. Is more money the answer to this problem?
Well, let me ask you, first of all, you said education activists. I want you to tell the listeners, who are those people?
Well, I've been around Ralph Kerr long enough to know the answer to this, and that would be the teachers' unions, Ralph.
Amazing. You get 100%. You aced that one,
ding.
Bob.
All right.
Very good. Yeah, they're really behind this. There's no doubt in my mind at all. I don't support spending another $50 million. But here are some other alternatives that don't really cost a lot more money. Use proven teaching methods. There are some places that are having really good scores. Let's find out why the teachers are doing such a good job in those districts and replicate that.
Yeah.
And then there needs to be consistency across the grades. Some more teacher training would certainly be helpful. And then training in diagnosing reading difficulties. Find out why it is that the children can't read and then deal with that. There are ways to get at this without spending another $50 million.
Yeah. Well, here's an issue we talked a lot about on this program, and kudos to State Senator George Borrello from Jamestown. He tried valiantly last week to put the pause button on this electric vehicle mandate, but the state Senate shot him down. Why do lawmakers seem to be doubling down on this, Ralph? Why is this a bad idea to implement in New York State?
Well, we talked a lot about the details of this just a few weeks ago, but in Vermont, there was a serious fire that totally burned up 4 electric buses. And that's another danger that we hadn't really talked about. But the things we have talked about before is they cost double to buy. There's limited mileage before you have to charge them up again. And the biggest thing in my mind is a purchase needs to be approved by the voters. And so far, voters are not inclined to do that.
Yeah.
So I did see last week that the governor at least recognized that we can't meet the Climate Act results that we were targeting for 2030. So we're going to move along from those and extend that. And I hope that she and the legislature will finally say we can't meet the mandates that we put in place for electric buses either, and get on with it.
Thank you, gentlemen. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Always always remember two critical truths about money and possessions. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Howard Dayton, the founder of Compass Financial Ministry, made these 2 points. First, we leave it all behind. As the Apostle Paul put it in 1 Timothy 6:7, we have brought nothing into the world, so we cannot take anything out of it either. The second truth is everything will be destroyed. The Apostle Peter says in 2 Peter 3:10 that someday the earth will be laid bare. Knowing that we can't take things with us and they will be destroyed eventually anyway helps us keep money and possessions in perspective. They're here today and gone tomorrow. But Scripture tells us something else too, that Jesus Christ is the true treasure, the same yesterday, today, and forever. We can help you learn to manage your money according to biblical principles when you download the free FaithFi app. You'll find it on our website at faithfi.com.
Thank you, Rob. Finally, at 5, kangaroos are noted for a few things. There's those pouches, of course, their boxing-like fighting skills, and their jumping ability. It was the latter on display in Wisconsin when a young kangaroo named Chesney got spooked by some dogs near his enclosure and decided he needed to bail. No problem. He just jumped right over an 8-foot fence. And then a 3-day search was on, including a heat-seeking drone.
I think we just spotted him. Yep, he's going behind this shed. He's going further back. I think we kind of need to just let him relax for a little bit.
Now, spotting a kangaroo is one thing. Actually catching one, that's another. Keeper Debbie Marlin says she logged about 37,000 steps a day trying to catch up with Chesney. Eventually, like snagging a lost dog, a searcher offered him some treats and a ride home.
Hi, Ches. You want to go in the car?
The rundown Roo hopped in for a ride home. By the way, Chesney is named for the country singer by that name, and the zoo has another kangaroo. Yeah, you guessed it. His name is Kenny. And that's the world we live in for Monday, March 30th, 2026. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.